The good news is your real estate business is growing and you're getting busier. The bad news is you're spread too thin. How are you going to buy yourself back some of your time? What's happening? I'm J.C Agajanian, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group at EXP, and we are bringing you the recap of the Monday Morning Mastermind as we do every week. Today we have three great topics. First of all, how are you going to buy back some of your time as a busy realtor, primarily when it comes to hiring a showing assistant? That's kind of the focus of this first topic. Next, we'll be talking about ideas for a part-time agent who is looking to transition and get ahead so that she could become full-time, and we had some questions and answers for her. And finally, how do we approach some of these sensitive topics like death, divorce, disease, helping people in difficult situations and still serving them well and making money while we're at it. So our first topic today is hiring a showing partner, helping you get more deals done with less time on the road, basically. So the agent I mentioned, he's growing, he's getting really pressed for time, and he's, really getting to that point where he's selling a couple homes a month, which is great. But he wants to know how to free up more of his time so that he's not spending all of his time in the field showing properties, going to inspections, doing final walkthroughs, and really get back to the prospecting that helped him get to this point, right? He wants to focus on continuing to grow his business. And he also has a new baby at home and other things that are pressing on his time. So the conversation surrounded showing partners and showing agents. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is where are you going to get this person? There's more than one good answer for that question. Kind of an obvious answer is someone who's newer in the business, preferably someone in your office or at least in your brokerage. It's great to have some synergy and some tight working relationships with whoever it is you're going to be trusting with your clients. But there's other ways that you could fill this role also. You could just hire someone as an assistant in general and then get them licensed so that they are completely molded by you. You help them get their license, take the test, become legal to show properties, and then instruct them exactly what you want them to do. So that's another way to do it. Or you could also tap in someone who is maybe more senior, who's been in the business a long time, maybe would consider retiring, but doesn't really want to just sit on the couch all day and do nothing, and would like to get out and be productive in society, but also doesn't need to be selling tons of homes on their own, making a bunch of money. So maybe an older person who has the sales experience, but doesn't want the responsibility of producing all the time and the stress of dealing with deals. That would also be a great candidate for a showing agent. So now we're going to talk about compensation. How are you going to pay this person? There's really two main ways to do it. There's other ways people get creative to pay for someone doing this work for you, but the primary ways are paying someone on a per door basis, come up with a fee on each door that they open and how much they're going to get paid. And that'll include their travel time, their mileage, their fuel, etc. Or you could cut that person in to your deal and give them some percentage for helping you get the thing closed. There was a bit of conversation about compensation this morning as well, and what we kind of settled on is the idea of focusing on how the motivation or how the compensation motivates that showing agent, right? So we want to be aware of the maybe subtle and maybe subliminal messages that this compensation offers. And the example is, listen, cutting someone in on a percentage of your deal aligns them with you in getting deals done, right? Cutting that time from initial consultation to pre-approval and showings and then offers and contracts as short as possible. That's our goal all the time, and we want the showing agent's goal to be the same. On the other hand, if you're paying them on a per door basis, the motivation doesn't really go beyond just wanting to show more doors, because the more doors they open, the more money they make, and there's not much thought beyond that. So the idea is let's recruit this person to be more of a partner and be more financially aligned with us so that they are also on the same page as opposed to paying per door. I think the per door thing is fantastic if you're in a jam and you don't have a full-time showing agent. You can offer somebody some just decent compensation to go do a job for you since you're unable to cover it. But if you're hiring someone to be part of your team and to be entwined in your regular business, then the percentage is probably a better way to go. Regardless of sourcing and compensation, though, we need to keep the big picture in mind, because overall, one of the main keys to success is going to be keeping these clients sticky to you despite another person interjected into the transaction. So one great way to address that is to schedule a debrief call after the showings ahead of time so that they know, hey, I'm going to talk to my lead agent about the property we just saw, whether or not we want to put in an offer, if not, the reasons why. If so, talk about terms and conditions, and just continue that what would be a normal conversation if you were out there in the field showing the property. Just continue that on, but schedule it in ahead of time. That'll help keep the cohesiveness together. And of course, your showing agent will be trained to say, hey, go back and give your lead agent a call as soon as you can, or maybe from the car on the way home. Along the same lines with the big picture thinking is to remember that you really need to focus on how you're using the new saved time that you have gotten back from having someone help you with these activities. So really, they should be focused on prospecting, on following up, on negotiating deals, things that are going to actually make you more money. It's not just, less stress and time to kick your heels up. Like, the whole point of paying someone else to do these things and adjusting the way that you do business is so that you can continue to grow that business and do better overall as a result. Before we move on to the next topic, just a couple things to remember. Various real estate boards, state boards throughout the country are starting to clamp down on the concept of showing partners, especially random ones that are not affiliated with your business. There are some large-scale services now. I think one of them is called Showami, that you can just hire someone who is signed up to do the service. Maybe they were an agent and they don't really sell anymore, and they just are kind of treating it like an Uber or something, or a DoorDash. It's not really recommended. I personally want to have really solid trust in the person that I'm sending out to show my client a property, and so that there's only one person that does that for me. And we work closely together, and that's it. So, going to a national service like Showami or something similar, I just think before we even get to the local boards having issues with it, I wouldn't want to do that anyways. I want to have a personal relationship with the person doing this. The overall idea is have someone within your office, if possible, at least within your brokerage, like I said at the top of this topic, and just have a solid working relationship with that person. Make sure you see eye to eye how you want to handle your clients, how you want to service them, how you want to take care of them, and make sure that that person showing that property is truly an extension of you going out and doing it yourself. You have the same mindset and same drive and goal of helping them get across the finish line. That's going to wrap up our showing partner talk, but we're going to move on to the concept of the part-time agent looking to go full-time. So one of the first questions we had for this part-time agent was, how much time can you really commit to generating new business with your current full-time job? What demands do you have from that primary job? Are you able to carve out 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours per day somehow to do prospecting, to do some transaction work, to really get things going so that you can at least get that first close going if you haven't gotten multiple closings in already? We also need to do some math. We need to figure out how many deals this part-timer will need to get done in order to produce enough reserves on the sidelines to feel comfortable pulling the plug on that primary job and going full-time into the real estate work. But before we do that, we need to take a solid assessment of the current position that she's working at and take advantage of it. How can we build a sphere of influence based on the current job and grow real estate business from the relationships and the network we have there? We need to be able to lean into this field and develop it as a primary source of business in the future. This is going to be a huge transition, and if there is any sort of period of time going on while you are full-time, some people do part-time real estate work for several years before cutting the cord and going full-time. Some people have a very quick transition and it's only a few months. Whatever the case is, we've got to take advantage of where you're at now to help you get where you're going to go. We had an example of a teacher who raised his hand and said, I've been exactly in your position. I actually was a part-time realtor for 7 years and then transitioned, and now it's been 3 years that I've been full-time. And he started by networking with his coworkers. He took some of his prep time and his downtime and used it to run out and flyer the same neighborhood that he worked in, so people knew his face from the school. People also knew his face from real estate at their doors. And then he continued to grow this sphere of influence moving forward into his real estate business. Now he's actually got a website, a lead generation portal, but really to the layman, just another teacher out there, a website that is focusing on helping getting homes for teachers. So this is a perfect example of using your current position, taking advantage of it, assessing the landscape, and understanding, how am I going to use this to help me make this transition? So you're not just saying goodbye to what you used to do and you're starting fresh, you're actually taking advantage of it and moving forward. If you've got a full-time job, you're going to have to take advantage of the hours before and after work, on the weekends, etc. And a lot of times for someone who's new, one of the big gaps that exists is just knowledge. Like, you haven't learned or experienced a lot about the contracts, the negotiations, the laws. There's a lot to learn that you don't get from the classes that get you licensed, right? We all know that there's a very big difference between what they teach you in the real estate coursework and what you learn once you're on the job. So one way to shore up those deficiencies is to take your off time, and you can access almost any information you need on YouTube these days. So go to YouTube University, find the things that you know least about and learn about them and become as much of an expert in this field as possible while you still have this full-time job. Another great tip was from another agent who transitioned a longer time ago. She's been a full-time agent for a while now, but she said she could also relate, and that's why she spoke up and said, listen, I was in that position, and I didn't have any deals going on when I was new and when I was a part-time agent, but I sure made it look like I did. And we're kind of like, what is she talking about? And she said, hey, if I didn't have the business, I was going to do all the things that busy agents did who do have the business. She's like, I was out holding open houses, I was door knocking, I was posting property tours, I was cold calling, I was doing everything I can to do the same activities that busy realtors with deals are doing, except I didn't have any deals. And so she said, the perspective of everyone else is that she was a slammin' busy real estate agent because of her social media and because of the actual physical activity she was doing. Eventually that parlayed itself into real deals, and she continued the same activities, and now she's been a successful agent for quite a while. So when you don't have the business, do the things that busy agents that do have the business do, and it will grow from there. Finally, we're going to approach some of the more sensitive topics when it comes to selling real estate. There's always stuff that comes up, and some people actually make this one of the pillars of their business. There's plenty of people that focus on divorce or trust sales. All of these things are caused by the ugly stuff, the things that we don't really want to deal with in life. But it's just a fact of life, and we have to acknowledge it and move forward. So of course we want to be sensitive to the people that we're talking to. Even if we're feeling a little bit predatory, let's say you maybe notice a few doors down somebody is clearing out their house for some reason. You happen to know that they were an older couple and you have a feeling that maybe one of them passed. There's nothing wrong with you approaching that person without feeling like a creep. It's just a matter of how you do it. Like, if you truly are coming from a place of wanting to help, knowing that there's likely an issue to solve when it comes to real estate, but maybe you can help in other ways too. Maybe you have a company moving truck like we do, and you can say, hey, do you guys need to borrow our truck to get rid of a bunch of crap here? Or whatever it may be. If you're truly coming from a place where you're looking to offer value and be sincere, and also at the same time kind of raise your hand as someone who can help them take care of the property if need be, then you shouldn't feel any negative emotions about the situation, right? Offer your condolences, feel for their loss, and then move forward. We don't dwell on it too much. Any more than they would themselves. Of course, you ask them how they're doing, things like that. But when they're ready to move on, you do as well. You're not going to waste time talking about commiseration all the time. So we're going to be mindful in all cases, and we should be in any situation. But this is a specifically important one, to be mindful of how we're talking to people and how we're conducting ourselves and how we initiate new relationships in general. We want to be open-handed. We want to offer other solutions that may not make us money. Maybe it's best for them not to sell right now. And if we come to that conclusion, we need to offer that as a solution for their situation and show that you genuinely care. For example, maybe someone, for some reason, didn't get a stepped up basis when their spouse died, or when the person giving them the property, let's say they're an heir, passes away. That could change the reason or whether or not it's a good idea for them to sell if they didn't get that stepped up basis. We could go on, but you get the idea. We want to be flexible. For example, if you're working with divorcing people, we want to be willing to double up each appointment. Say, okay, I'm going to go meet you here, and I'm going to go meet you there, and we're going to have the same conversation both times. It's a pain in the ass, but it's worth doing, and it's showing that you actually care about these people, right? They don't have to be in the same place with each other, but we're still accomplishing the same thing. If this is something you really want to target, or if it's just a off-chance scenario like someone a few doors down, like one of the other agents mentioned, you might want to create some content around these scenarios. Maybe you share some stories you've had with specific people, or times when you help someone who has lost a loved one, or maybe gone through a divorce, or maybe had some tragedy in their family, or a problem like a flood or a fire in their home. There's lots of things that pop up, and if you can share stories about how you've helped people through them, it will truly resonate whenever anybody else out there has a similar situation, and they either stumble across your content online, or you get introduced to somebody and you say, you know what, I've had exactly the same experience in the past. I even made a little video about it. Let me share this with you. And then you give it to them, and I can't imagine them going with anyone else if you're able to share that story in video online. On that topic, a great thing that you could do, even if you don't have personal experience with some of these unique sales, is to just find out some of the most common questions people might have pertaining a specific type of situation in real estate. How do you do that? We've got AI for that. Go to Bard or go to ChatGPT, find out what the 10 top questions are surrounding a divorce sale, or a trust sale, or whatever the case may be. Take a look, come up with some solid answers, and make some video about it. It's as simple as that. That's going to cover our recap for today, talking about buying back some of your time with a showing partner, transitioning out of the part-time position into full-time real estate, and of course, approaching sensitive topics in the market when it comes to real estate. I hope you found something helpful. As I always say, more importantly, I hope you found something you can implement into your business today and help you make some more money. I'm always happy to chat. Feel free to message me right here, and I look forward to talking to you soon.